March 25, 2026. The headlines in California are dominated by a single, sharp image. Kimberly Noel Kardashian, dressed in a monochromatic razor-sharp power suit, holding a license that officially grants her the right to practice law. To the casual observer, it's a redemptive arc reality star proving her critics wrong. But to those who have followed the trail of breadcrumbs she's left for 3 decades, this isn't a new chapter. It's the closing of a circle that began in a house where the law was never about justice, but about theater. Long before the Skims empire, the contouring kits, and the broken internet, there was the Tower Lane house in Beverly Hills. This was the laboratory where the Kardashian brand was first synthesized. Kim's middle name, Noel, suggests a quiet, suburban normalcy, nod to her October birthday nearing the holiday season, but her childhood was anything but quiet. She was the second-born, the observant middle child sandwiched between the rebellious Kourtney and the younger, more volatile Khloe, while other children in the 90s were playing with Barbie dolls. Kim was living in a world where the adults were playing for keeps. The defining trauma and the ultimate curriculum of Kim's life arrived when she was just 14 years old. Her father, Robert Kardashian Sr., was a man who understood the power of a suit and a secret, a high-powered attorney who hadn't stepped into a courtroom in 2 decades. Robert reactivated his law license for one specific reason: to join the dream team defending his best friend, O.J. Simpson. This wasn't just a trial. It was the first true reality show in American history, and Kim had a front-row seat. She famously recalls the day her father pulled her and Kourtney out of school to sit in the courtroom. It was a house divided by blood and deposition. Her mother, Kris Jenner, was the best friend of the victim, Nicole Brown Simpson. Kris sat on the side of the prosecution, mourning her friend in a state of visible fury, while Kim and Kourtney sat directly behind O.J. Simpson on the defense side. In that courtroom, Kim watched her father carry a bulging Louis Vuitton garment bag out of O.J.'s house, a bag that prosecutors suggested contained the murder weapon, though it was never found. She watched how a narrative could be constructed, how a jury could be swayed by aesthetics, and how the legal system could be bent by the weight of celebrity. She learned that a well-timed death stare from her mother across a courtroom was more powerful than 1,000 words of testimony. This wasn't a family dinner. It was a rehearsal for a life lived entirely on camera. By the time she graduated from Marymount High School in 1998, Kim had already mastered the art of the hustle. Her father, ever the disciplinarian of the dollar, refused to just hand her the keys to the kingdom. When she totaled her car at 16, Robert Sr. didn't buy her a new one. He made her sign a contract. He bought the car, but she had to work to pay off every cent of the insurance and the damages. This was the birth of Kim Kardashian, the assistant. Before she was a mogul, she was a professional closet organizer. She was the ghost in the wardrobes of the wealthy, most notably for her childhood friend, Paris Hilton. There is an infamous grainy clip from The Simple Life where Paris orders Kim to clean her closet. For years, the internet turned this into a meme, the humble servant who eventually dethroned the queen. But the reality was more calculating. Kim wasn't just cleaning, she was studying. She saw how Paris managed the paparazzi, how she turned a leak into a lifestyle, and how she used her voice as a weapon of mass distraction. While she was meticulously color-coding Paris's diamond necklaces, Kim was building her own network. She was the girl in the background of the Hills parties, often edited out of the final cuts, hovering just at the edge of the frame, waiting for the light to hit her. She was a stylist to Brandy, which led her to meet Ray J, and it was here, in the mid-2000s, that the blueprint from her father's legal career and the lessons from Paris Hilton's socialite reign collided into a single, grainy video file that would change the world forever. By 2007, the world was still operating on the old rules of Hollywood. You needed a talent, a studio, or a legendary publicist to exist. Kim Kardashian had none of these, but she had something better: a tape and a mother who understood the legal infrastructure of infamy. The story the public was fed was a classic victim of a leak narrative, but the internet never forgets. And the Cringe Lab forensic deep dive into the 2007 Vivid Entertainment deal reveals a much more clinical reality. This wasn't a stolen moment, it was a series of signatures. Rumors have persisted for decades that the leak was a coordinated distribution, a product launch disguised as a scandal. While the world laughed at the grainy footage with Ray J, Kim was in a boardroom with Kris Jenner, negotiating a reported $5 million settlement and a distribution deal. She didn't just survive the scandal, she copyrighted it. This was the birth of the famous for being famous era, a phrase that became a slur used by the old guard to dismiss her. But Kim was the one laughing. She understood that in the digital age, attention is the only currency that doesn't inflate. If people are looking at you, they are paying you. The memes began to flow like a toxic river. There was the diamond earring incident in Bora Bora, where Kim had a full-blown existential crisis over losing a $75,000 earring in the ocean. It was the moment Kourtney Kardashian delivered the line that defined a generation. "Kim, there's people that are dying." To the public, it was proof of her vapidity. To the Kardashian machine, it was a viral clip that ensured the show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, would stay at the top of the E! Network ratings for 20 seasons. But as the show progressed, something uncanny started to happen. Kim wasn't just a character, she was a shapeshifter. She began a systematic aesthetic overhaul that birthed 1,000 conspiracy theories. The BBL Brazilian butt lift became synonymous with her silhouette, leading to the clone theory. Fans pointed out that every few years, Kim's facial structure, hip-to-waist ratio, and even her vocal fries seemed to undergo a total hardware update. She wasn't just aging, she was being patched like a piece of software. This period saw her marry Chris Humphries for a staggering 72 days. The wedding was a $10 million televised event that lasted longer than the actual marriage. Critics called it a fraud. Kim called it following her heart. In reality, it was a stress test for the audience's loyalty. Could she sell a wedding and a divorce in the same fiscal quarter? The answer was a resounding yes. Then came the Kanye West era. This was more than a marriage. It was a hostile takeover of high fashion. Kanye didn't just date Kim, he rebranded her. In a famous episode of the show, he walked into her closet and threw away her entire wardrobe years of her closet organizer, aesthetic replacing it with minimalist, post-apocalyptic neutrals. He taught her the Vogue language. He turned the girl from the tape into a muse for Givenchy and Balenciaga. But even as she sat front row at Paris Fashion Week, the memes followed. The 2013 Met Gala floral dress saw her compared to a grandmother's couch. The break, the Internet Paper magazine cover where she balanced a champagne glass on her rear, was analyzed by scholars as the ultimate commodification of the human body. She was no longer a person, she was a meme-generating engine. Yet, beneath the layers of Spanx and the vampire facials where she literally had her own blood injected back into her face on camera, the shadow of Robert Kardashian Sr. remained. While the world watched her struggle to fit into Marilyn Monroe's dress, nearly destroying a piece of American history for a 30-second red carpet walk, Kim was secretly studying. The woman who once cleaned Paris Hilton's boots was tired of being the muse. She wanted to be the magistrate. By the mid-2020s, the Kim Kardashian experiment had reached its logical conclusion. She was no longer just a billionaire or a trendsetter. She was becoming a pillar of the institutional elite. In late 2025, the world watched as Kim sat for the California bar exam once again. Despite the memes about her baby bar struggles, she had completed a 4-year law apprenticeship, proving that she didn't need a traditional law school to infiltrate the system. While she didn't pass the July 2025 attempt, her reaction was a masterclass in brand management. Failing short isn't failure, it's fuel. Now, in March 2026, the stakes have shifted. Kim is no longer just the girl in the gold Gucci gown who stumbled in 8-inch heels at the Vanity Fair Oscars party last week. She has become a political entity. Her current focus on the Fair Wages for Incarcerated Workers Act isn't just a hobby, it's a calculated move into federal legislation. She's lobbying senators, taking her Gen Z influencer army on prison tours, and positioning herself as the bridge between the disenfranchised and the ultra-wealthy. The public's obsession has pivoted from her waistline to her legal prowess. Rumors of her relationship with F1 legend Lewis Hamilton spotted together in Tokyo just yesterday, a layer of international power couple mystique that her father, Robert Sr., would have recognized as the ultimate defense strategy. If you are too big to fail and too famous to ignore, the law starts to look like just another contract you can negotiate. Kim has effectively bridged the gap between the 1995 O.J. Simpson trial and the 2026 judicial landscape. She learned from her father that the courtroom is a stage, and from her mother that the world is an audience. By shuttering her struggling brands like SKKN to focus on the billion-dollar Skims and her legal career, she is shedding the skin of a celebrity to emerge as a stateswoman. The final verdict is clear. Kim Kardashian didn't just keep up, she overtook the culture, lap after lap, until she became the one setting the speed. She is the first person in history to turn a viral scandal into a legislative mandate. Whether she eventually passes the bar or simply continues to play a lawyer on TV while rewriting real-world laws, the result is the same. We are living in a reality she helped architect, one where the line between a TikTok stumble and a Supreme Court briefing is thinner than a pair of her own shapewear. The girl who once organized Paris Hilton's closet is now organizing the American legal system. And in this court, there is no appeal. You can't look away, because she's already bought the ad space in your next thought. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the most successful rebrand in human history. If you want to see who we dissect next, or if you're waiting for the Bluetooth defense to be proven in court, hit that subscribe button. If you don't, just remember, Kim is a licensed attorney now. She find a loophole in your privacy settings, subpoena your search history, and move into your guest house before you can say objection. Stay litigated.